Aline threw this together for me last week for a little experiment that I'm working on, which I will jump into in a little while here, and hopefully let you all see what it is. Some of you might have an idea. I've demonstrated earlier versions of this along the way, so some of you might remember it. But before I do that, I'd love to hear from you. We've been making lots of updates recently, and I'm sure a lot of you have been dealing with the pains that come with that. And we've spent the last couple of weeks, as we usually do in the wake of this, trying to resolve as many problems as possible. But really, I just want to find out from anybody if they are still experiencing problems. And maybe before I open it up, I will let you know that anybody on Quest, we put out an emergency fix late on Friday evening, late our time here in Europe, that is supposed to resolve a number of crashing instances people were having, especially when jumping between worlds, right? So if you were being kicked out to your home screen or to Horizon Worlds now, because I guess that's how it works. Yeah, we've hopefully resolved a lot of those problems. We've also changed a lot around how the SDK works, and there's part of that I actually want to dig into a little bit more. But before I do that, I'll maybe just see, anybody want to just show of hands if anybody is experiencing any problems they want to tell me about, and that way I can try and get them resolved. Arkana, you've got your hands up there.
Yeah, every time I close the desktop version of Banter, I get a couple of errors, and then the whole thing crashes, and then Steam says it's still running even though it's not.
Gotcha. Working as intended. Brilliant. Next. No,
Cool.
I'm joking, of course. That is something I'm aware of. It's been less of a priority just because it's a crash that happens when you close the app. But what is happening there, and I can help you get around the Steam not thinking that it's closed issue. We've got a new browser system. Some of you might remember something called Vuplex, which you would be able to see in your list of apps or in your task manager in the past. It's now called Aura, right? This is something we've built ourselves internally and named it ourselves internally. But if you find that in task manager, if you search for Aura-Windows and then kill that in task manager, that should clean Steam up in the meantime. But we have an update coming out in the next few days that should resolve that and a few other problems as well. Yeah. Anybody else? Sebek, go ahead, hit me.
Or still on the headset, and it won't let me launch the game at all.
Does it have any kind of pop-up warning or message? Does it say something about you need to update?
It just
before
tells me that I need to update, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really
We
wanna
actually
update,
don't
though.
have anything to do with that. That's a Meta problem. Meta have started to force users to update every time an app is updated. So we haven't actually made any update
Okay.
to Banter that's caused that. But as of a certain version, Meta started to basically force users to update in order to get it. So I guess that's just something, if you're the sort of person that's either, you tend to block updates, or maybe it just hasn't hit you yet because they tend to get it. So roll them out in phases. All I can say is leave your headset on, plugged in overnight, try and
Will
get
it-
those updates. There is no other fix, unfortunately, for that.
That's the thing, yeah, I don't want the updates. Is there no, like, side loadable, APK that could bypass that, or no?
I can throw an APK up into the channel. You can give it a shot if you like and see if that maybe works. Yeah, I can.
Okay.
I can
Yeah.
ping you with that after this, and we'll give it a shot for sure. But yeah, I mean, we were looking into. We thought maybe we had changed something in the Oculus runtime. We had updated something, but it turns out we hadn't, and it was just that we had pushed a new update for the app. And as of a certain version, I got that message myself as well. And I imagine a lot of different apps are probably seeing that. That's them trying to force people to update when they know people don't want to for a number of reasons. But yeah. I'll fire you over the side loadable build. Let's see if that works around it. Hopefully it should.
Thank you.
Sweet. Anybody else? Feel free. Throw your hand up in the air or jump up and down.
I've just got one.
Go ahead, Pony.
I've just got one.
Yeah.
When we now load in and our avatars are locked in space,
yes.
unfortunately, on my spaces start where you start in triggers because I have to turn things on and off. And because we're locked in space, I have to then leave. When I start the game, I have to leave the trigger because nothing's loaded in, and then come back in and everything's reset. Do we have to still be locked in space? And is there an option for me to turn that off when people load into my spaces, or is it something I have to work around again?
So it's a temporary thing that we put in place actually last minute. We were testing out some stuff in Bob's Blam space, and I'm sure a lot of you might remember when you were joining some of his events that you might have got thrust out into So realistically, what was happening there was that as you were loading in and being moved around, colliders were interacting with other colliders, and it was throwing the physics character out into the God knows nowhere, basically. And apart from that, there's a number of other issues related to when people join at the same time. They all end up, their hands have colliders on them, and it makes people bounce off each other and get thrown across the room. And this was basically a temporary way to work around that problem.
Yeah, could we load them in a more of a wider? I mean, the SDK, the SDK bit I have, the settings one where I load everybody in, it gives you an option to increase spawn area,
a radius.
And could we do that as a standard? So we just that's it, the radius. Yes, thank you. Could we increase the radius so we just spread them out a bit and just alleviate the problem that way?
Yes, yeah, that might be a good idea.
Ways around me breaking everything.
Yeah, that might be a good idea to deal with that.
Spawn is a bit more spread out anyway.
Yes.
That way you don't spawn on top of everybody anyway, because it's a bit disturbing at times when everybody's just piled on top of each other, especially with hand colliders. It's just a free-for-all at that point.
You get thrown around. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That certainly deals with a part of it, I think, for sure, right? It certainly deals with that part where people kind of collide with each other when they spawn, or at least, makes that way less frequent or less likely, let's say.
Yeah.
But we're still trying to figure out some problems with how do you deal with the world colliders in some cases, right? If they're not perfectly aligned or the character's spawning slightly in the floor and then a collider forces them to just fly apart, right? That was the issue that we were looking into in the Blam space. But once we can figure out a mitigation for that, and like you say, maybe a spawn radius by default for spawning in, then we can look at making that loading screen work exactly like it did before. Like I'd always imagined the loading screen would work kind of like a little mini space itself, right? So you can kind of move around it, and the hope was that eventually you'd be able to just open your menu in there, right? So that while you're loading, or you can still you can even see your avatar, right? So you're actually fully kind of embodied in that space. But so if you can bear with us, it's only a temporary thing. If you've got a workaround for now,
it's not
I'll let you know as soon as. Yeah, cool beans.
Yeah, not a problem. Cheers.
Cheers, Pony. Okay, anyone else? Anybody else? Any issues? Everybody at all? Any problems? Yeah, go ahead, Triffid. I assume the fact that you're not talking is part of the problem.
Muted, my friend.
No, the audio's broken. Okay.
I'll do one more then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Physemes. Is my face going crazy right now?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yes.
When did that start happening?
Update.
That's in like the last day or two?
Thursday. Yeah, last day or two, yeah. It only happens to a few of us that use, I don't know what it is, but it was fine and now it's not.
Yes.
Like some type of predator.
What I might do is if I can, get a copy of your avatar to have a look at that. Basically, what we discovered, right, is that the legacy Ready Player Me SDK that we've been using for quite a while was actually doing Physemes on the wrong range, right? Unity by default does a range of 0 to 100 for blend shapes, as they're called in Unity. Blender, for instance, if you're ever working in there, which a number of avatars are created in there, right? It uses a range of 0 to 1. But usually when it exports, Unity will import them in a range of 0 to 100. The Ready Player Me SDK for the longest time was forcing them back into 0 to 1. Right. And we actually discovered a number of problems with that over the last week. So we corrected the problem in the Ready Player Me SDK, and then we tried to correct the problem in Banter as well, so that the two would basically correct, offset against each other, and it should have brought things back to normal. But maybe what you've got
I'll just
is
re-upload it again, and I'll fix the issue.
if
Then,
you
probably.
if you can do that, that'd be interesting. And if not, if you can get us, I'm sure we can get the avatar that's on your account at a certain time. So maybe you can let us know when it's actually on your account, and then we can grab that and take a look. Have you seen anybody else? Has anybody else had that problem, or is it just you?
Ghost Droid when he's in his Ready Play Me form.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's a pain in the ass. Gotcha.
Sure,
What was it you were going to tell me before?
I can't log into YouTube or Google on the web interface.
Gotcha. Does it go blank? Is it a blank page?
It says it's not secure and won't let you log in.
Gotcha. Yes, that is a tricky one. Basically, what's going on there is that we're using what's called a web view, right? A web view's like a mini version of the browser. If you imagine on your phone, if you're using an app like Facebook or Reddit, right, and you click on a link, it doesn't open it up in your full-blown browser. It opens it up in like a mini version. What most websites do is they consider those web views to be insecure. And the reason for that is because technically the application that has that view embedded, it has direct access to everything that's going on in the view. So providers like Google, for instance, they don't trust us by default, and they don't trust us to allow you to log into your account using that web view. We've actually had the same problem on SideQuest itself for quite a while, because you're able to link your Google account and then sign into SideQuest with Google, but it pops up with exactly the same message. This is an insecure browser. I'm not sure if there is a way around that, but we can look into it. There may be some combination of web settings, or maybe something to do with the user agent that we can explore and see if we can resolve that. But yeah, do you know something I would also love if you could try? Are you still having that audio problem you just had there? Are you still seeing that quite a lot?
Yes. I'm more or less, every time I open Banter, I've got to check my audio settings, because 90% of the time it just doesn't come up.
And what do you do whenever it happens? Do you just rejoin the space or restart the app, or what do you do to resolve it?
I think most of the time I have to restart the app.
Gotcha. Maybe you've tried this already, but I'll just check anyway. But in the settings, even here on Android, it actually gives you a drop down to select different audio devices. It might only have one in the list, but have you ever tried it where you just drop the list down and try and select the device again?
No, I don't do that. I'll give that a try next time.
Give that a try and just let me know if that works, because I think that actually might be something that we can possibly fix. I'm not sure why it's affecting you. If anybody else is having that problem as well, please let me know. The audio, I know there have been some problems that have plagued us for a while, and most recently we've put in a fair amount of effort to try and get that rectified. So hopefully audio in general should be a lot smoother. In the past, audio might start to crackle and then completely break down entirely, and you wouldn't be able to hear anybody. Hopefully none of that is happening anymore, and we should have a much more solid audio experience when it is working. But please let me know if that's not the case, because we are eager to try and track that down and try and find out if there is still any issues related to audio. So yeah, if anybody is still having that kind of problem, please let us know. I think if you can let us know, Triffid, if that does resolve it, that will be a great help for us to really hyper focus on that as an issue and try and figure out why it's not automatically selecting that device. Something you can do maybe as well in the meantime is you could try completely uninstalling the app and then reinstalling it from scratch. We have had some instances, because we've had so many updates and so many changes, the actual cached files, especially the cached files for the web view and the browser, have caused problems as we've transitioned from the old to the new. And the only way to get rid of that is to completely uninstall the app and reinstall it. If you just update it or reinstall it without removing it, then it doesn't fix that problem, right? So, but yeah, if you completely
Does
take
that
it off
delete your
and put it back
favourites?
on after, it might do, yes. Depends, right?
Okay.
Meta's cloud save should hang on to them, but you can also back them up yourself if you connect it up to a PC, or if you use SideQuest, you can go into let's see, you go to Android and then data and then com.sidequest.banter, and then there's a files folder, and in there you'll have a few JSON files. If you save all of those to your computer, you can restore them then afterwards, and that includes everything. It includes your login sessions, so you won't have to re-log in. It includes all your favorites and everything, and even a bunch of other settings in the menu that you may have changed too. So yeah, if you back those up first, it'll keep them for you.
Yo, I have a question.
Nice.
So
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
has the SideQuest team considered bringing the old player rig back, where, like, for instance, when you jump, instead of floating, your character would actually crouch down then jump? It was essentially more physics based in the old Banter.
No. In short, the old character controller was based on a third-party asset, which was called Hexabody was the original name. I think they just changed it to Physics VR Player eventually, but it was originally called Hexabody when we first used it. We're actually working on tweaking the existing system, which is fully built in-house by ourselves. And believe it or not, there was a lot of problems at the time that people didn't like how physics-y it was and wanted something a bit more generic, right? Just like more standardized games. And there is actually the same physics going on to jump you. It doesn't need to necessarily dip you down a little bit before you jump. But what I can do is take that feedback back to the guy who created it. And for those of you, I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the guy who created it is a guy called Nimso. He's been working with us now for a couple of years. He's quite renowned in the industry as somebody who creates a lot of really cool physics stuff. He worked, more specifically with Ubisoft before he joined SideQuest, and he built the physics character controller system for Assassin's Creed Nexus. So, he's definitely up there when it comes to the quality of this kind of stuff. And one thing I will say is that we have had a long-standing ticket in the system, let's say, to improve the crouching overall. Generally, there is kind of an about-face approach to it, which we do want to correct, and we have been working on that, and that is going to change hopefully soon. And literally, it's just about how your body crouches when you're in the air, when you're kind of holding on to something, when you're grabbing or climbing, or various different things. But I'm not sure if you're going to see that kind of dip before you jump again. We kind of went for the just immediate, more kind of, I guess, standard, like, other FPS games, stuff like that, where you just hit the button and you're jumping straight away, basically, right? So yeah, that's I hope that's answered your question.
No.
Cool. Anybody else? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, so the keyboard, basically, for the new browser, I understand. I've already posted on the Discord, but I've had several people come to me and ask me to fix the keyboard, whereas I can't do anything about it. So I thought I'd, relay the message on that people are coming to me to fix the keyboard for the browser, because when they click the keyboard button, it doesn't bring up the keyboard anymore. And for games like Jackbox, where they'd go to the cinema, they'd grab the browser, take it over somewhere, they need the keyboard for it to be able to actually play the game. So it's been an issue for people who come on Quest only to play Jackbox and things like that. And I also agree about the character controller.
Gotcha.
Like, it's a different thing. It's not the jumping so much. It's like the whole physics part of it. Because we had worlds which were kind of popular, which were for parkour essentially. And now you can't really do that. I used to be able to climb around spaces like Banter Court, for example. But then after the update, I was no longer able to climb up those spaces because your hands are too bouncy. Like, your hands push you off of things when you try to climb up them.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
right now.
on the parkour front, I think the crouching is another aspect of that. And I think one thing we were possibly looking at doing, because there's a local ball and it has a unique feature where it will lean, right, when you're going a certain direction. It helps when you're getting up over ledges or over like steps, that kind of thing. But indeed, it will push you back, right? Because that thing, when you're pushing towards it, it's going to come out as it leans forward, and then it's possibly pushing you back more than the hexabody would. So we are actually looking at getting rid of that. I'm not sure. That one actually, I think, may have been completed already, but just hasn't made it out into the build because we haven't done full testing on it yet. So yeah, we can definitely see if we can improve that. But I think, like I say, the crouching is probably the main thing. We've got Bob, who I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think he's here, but Bob is obviously he's kind of au fait on the whole physics side of things, and particularly when it comes to parkour, he's been advocating quite a lot internally to try and perfect the character controller system. So I'm literally distinctly remembering a conversation between him and Nimso where they were talking about the leaning of the ball and how much it makes it a lot easier now to be able to grab and climb things. But from memory, having colliders on your hands was always something, even with the old hexabody system, right? Where you can push yourself away from a wall if you go up to something. You can push yourself away.
Yeah, kind of, but with the old system, it was sort of more like your hand locked you in place, especially on VR. When you had your hand on a ledge, you could actually like pull your whole body around, with the strength of your hand. And now your hands aren't as strong as they used to be, which is a good thing in a way because your hands were too strong before. They were getting caught, like people getting caught on things. But like now, your hands, like when you try to do the same thing, you just bounce off the thing, which maybe is related to the crouching thing, like you mentioned.
In the space settings I use,
well, you know
you
what?
can adjust
Actually,
the bounciness of your hands.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can adjust.
Yes, that's right. You can adjust the strength of your wrists.
Yeah, when I tried adjusting those,
you can actually
previously,
go crazy with that, and
yeah, those physics settings weren't working when I last tried adjusting them. But it's good that you can adjust those in this. It's per space, so it'd be good if it was fixed for Banter entirely.
Yes, it is per space. Yeah.
They are. Yes, they are. Well, when I say fixed entirely, I guess it's a preference, really. And what we found was some of the largest complaints we had with the old hexabody system was that it just really wasn't all that configurable, and it was pretty advanced. And I know a lot of us are advanced. I definitely prefer the more advanced configuration, but it was a bit of it was a bit more cumbersome for new users, and how they could kind of get used to that. So the configuration now is, I'll be honest, it's a middle ground between that, right? It's a little bit more watered down than that. So I'm not sure if we will change it across the platform for that reason, but you can change it and you can go crazy with those settings. And yeah, it depends on how long ago you tried that. I know there were some problems with setting those settings, but we have fixed that, so that should be good. I don't know, Pony, if you've been testing that recently or when you last.
Yeah, I've been playing around with that a lot.
I would say give that another shot. You can do crazy things now. You can control the player speed and a lot of different things. The jump height, you can control, like I say, the strength of the wrists, which is a really good one, because if you make like grabbable, if you make like sort of grabbable stilts or something like that, you can actually fling yourself around really crazy with a really increased wrist strength now. So yeah, I would say that's probably the best thing to take a look at. It should all be in the documentation, and for anyone who doesn't know, we've got, especially for you, FireHat, because I know you prefer to work in JavaScript, but all the documentation has been updated. So all of the new stuff that we've been building behind the scenes and the docs weren't catching up in time, that should all be resolved now. And actually the documentation on the website, bantervr.com/docs, that is hot linking direct to the SDK repo now. So as we make updates, we'll update the docs, and that will be immediately reflected in the website without us needing to push an update to the website or anything like that. So hopefully those docs should stay more updated as a result. But yeah, if you take a look at that, there should be a whole section that has all of the space settings, all of the physics settings.
Yeah, I did notice when you updated those docs, and the docs do look better, but I have to point out, you removed the whole section which told you how to install the SDK, so there is no actual, introduction telling people how to actually set up the Unity with the Banter SDK anymore.
That's a good shout. That is a very good shout. Yeah, what I meant to do actually was to put that onto the onto the website itself, right? So that it's not part of the docs. The docs are kind of just information about how to use it, but that the installation is going to go up onto the site. So if you keep an eye out for that, that'll be back up on the website before you even have to get in that far, right? So kind of keeps the docs a bit cleaner. And yeah, for those that want to get started, because those docs, of course, are very centered around JavaScript. They were less so around, how to use Unity and the visual scripting, which it has a lot of its docs and information kind of built in, let's say, right? That's kind of generally how that works. But yeah, the plan was to move that up onto the website. So if you keep an eye out for that, but good call for noticing that. It's absolutely something that needs to be there.
For the
it would be nice
documentation
also.
part, was the web browser documentation up there? I didn't see it previously, and I was having some issues with that because I just wanted a permanent web browser that I could turn on and off, and I don't know how to do that.
A permanent web browser that you can turn on and off. The browser, yeah, I mean, it is in there. You've got Banter Browser as a component, right? So you can create a game object and slap Banter Browser onto it as a component, and then you've got all the various different settings in there. There's actually a lot more involved information around the browser, and it might not contain everything, but the legacy documentation still exists, and it still has quite a lot of information around the browser. So a good shout as well. We need to get that more detailed, the browser being a really important component. One thing I will say is I know there have been some problems with browsers and messaging from browsers. That should hopefully be fixed. And yeah, I actually want to talk about that a little bit more. But did I hear Kalima? Did you have a question?
Yeah. I was just going to say because I had noticed that too about the the information about the SDK not being where I thought it was going to be. But also, could you post the current version of Unity, because I know it's changed a couple times. Lately I've been like, okay, what is the current version? I have no idea. So could that be updated regularly when it changes, so that we all know the current version and have it somewhere on the website where it's clear and easy to find? Because I recently was like, I
Yes,
have no idea what it is anymore. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is
I'll do you one better. If you open your menu.
Okay.
Yeah, you just go to the settings page in the menu. It tells you the Unity version right there, down at the bottom.
Oh, it does. Oh, God, you're right. It does. Yep. Okay, geez. Thank you. I feel stupid. Thank you.
That being said, though, I will say,
I mean,
legacy versions are still working. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. We just came from Center Stage, where they have their karaoke on Sundays, and Natalia is having a lot of trouble with the player in her world. And I know in my karaoke, my open mic, I've got Fire Rat's player, which seems to work pretty well. And she doesn't have access. She wasn't the one that set up the world, so she can't change it out or anything. And she said Faye set it up for her, and I told her to contact Faye, see if Faye could change it for her, but I guess she can't reach Faye or something. But she's having a lot of trouble with it. It'll randomly give ownership of the player to somebody else, all just out of the blue. She'll lose control of it, and a lot of weird things have been happening with it lately. I don't know if somebody can help her out with the player in Center Stage. I know she would appreciate it.
If you send me a message after this, I'll see if I can maybe get Bob to link up with her and get that space updated and get maybe a newer version of the player in, maybe Fire Rat's version. I know our video player has been lacking for a while. Honestly, it's been a bit crazy between Glitch going offline and several versions of the player kind of existing and just trying to keep a handle on many different versions. And also Bob's actually in the process of trying to come up with a new video player. He's got a brand new synced video player that he's been working on for a while. I've probably just spilled the beans there, and he probably would have preferred to talk about that himself. But honestly, he's been doing some crazy things with vibe coding lately that is nuts, if I'm honest. He was talking, last I spoke to him the other day, he was building his own OpenXR runtime. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Fire Rat.
This person did post in the Discord about that. I believe Discord Kitty did see the message and try to help them. I'm not entirely sure why that wasn't continued there, but with the video player thing as well, I mean, like, I have also been trying to work on a new video player. This is also why I've asked you to fix the browser communication messages, because I want to have it local, not relying on external things so we'll be able to communicate between the actual player window, which is playing the video, and then the playlist window. I want to have in space communication.
Yes.
And that browser message thing isn't working, so I'm not able to work on the video player currently.
You frightened him off.
You killed him.
You killed him.
Oh,
Please
jumped in
media.
his mouth
You
keeps
booted
pressing
him
bottom of
out.
his- bottom of his
He'll be
You
right
definitely
back.
are the
Yeah,
static.
there he
guy.
is.
Uh-oh.
It's a ghost.
You got booted. Did he fall off the
killed him?
world? He came in and then left.
Yeah.
Hello.
Woohoo.
Ever tried turning it off and on again?
My own foot. Wait, stop.
Anyway, well done, Grenade. You really did deserve that.
I did give
'cause
her
your
access
space
to
was
my
so
open
well.
my open mic world, so she can use that. But
Done
I know
so
she
well.
prefers center stage. So
I know you guys
Yeah.
work
They
a
can
lot
just
on the
loan the
programming
space and
side.
then
I didn't.
change it.
Hey, good job.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
Okay.
everybody's
I don't
doing
do any
awesome
programming.
today.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well
Wow.
deserves our
Good
love.
fun. I like your roles.
Oh, I missed
Yep.
it, yeah.
It's really good. Good.
Who won?
Right on, cheers, my
Everybody
friends.
did well.
Yes. Right,
won.
Steam frame.
Woo!
You won it.
Congrats, my
Yes.
friends. Well deserved.
And Grenade. And Designer Girl.
Yeah.
We've got 3 of them.
Really?
There's supposed to be
Oh,
2, but we
Yeah.
got carried away.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Shane's
Designer
back.
Girl, Pony, and Grenade
There he
Head.
is. There he is.
Apologies, folks.
Woohoo.
I'm actually working off a personal hotspot on my phone right now. I'm in the process of transitioning between abodes, so my Starlink is elsewhere. But yeah, I've got a few different devices connected, and maybe I've gone too far with that. So I'm actually surprised at how long it's lasted and how stable it's been. But yeah, actually, just to pick up from where we left off there on the browser messaging, so I put a note on your ticket. I don't know if you saw it, but hopefully it should actually be corrected, but now only in the Quest version. We did a Quest release on Thursday last minute to try and solve some of the crashing, but it should also hopefully fix the browser messaging. I think actually that's probably a really nice segue into something that we've changed, which I'm going to need to make you guys aware of. We have changed how the injection of Banter services works within the browser, right? For a lot of you, this won't matter all that much, really. But to your point, Triffid, around being able to log into YouTube and other services, that was part of the reason why we did this. But also because generally the way that we have been doing it to date has honestly been really hacky. I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but in essence, every time the browser would try to access what it would consider to be the main HTML file, the index.html for a website, what it would do is cancel that request. Then it would make its own request in the background to retrieve that, and then we would inject our services, our JavaScript, into that text, and then we would serve the response back up to you as the user. Now, we've worked on that quite a lot recently because, as I'm sure you know, we've been changing a lot about the browser. There's a new whole surface for the browser for spaces and so forth, and now we only have one browser implementation. I don't know if some of you have noticed, but the desktop app, at least anyway, when it's zipped, maybe not when it's unzipped, but it's a lot smaller. It's 100 megs less when zipped, which is about 30% of the app size. It's considerable. And the reason for that is because we were literally shipping 2 versions of Chrome inside of Banter. Now it's just one. It's just ours. It's just our own consolidated browser version. But to get back to what I was saying, the reason that we were doing this was so that we could inject our services at the earliest possible point, so that the BS namespace, as it's called, was pretty much always available from the moment you start building things. That was a good advantage, especially when we were dealing with things like A-Frame. I don't know if any of you remember, but last year when we rolled out our new SDK, at the time, we created what's called a shim of A-frame, and it was a means to be able to vastly improve performance inside of Banter, where basically we blocked A-frame from loading, and then we had our own fake A-frame that was able to load up all of the A-frame environments and work pretty much like the existing one did. But the only way we could do that blocking was to make sure that our code would always run first before everything else. But our method of doing that was honestly hacky, really hacky. And yeah, basically we wanted to try and clean that up and standardize that. So instead of trying to get our code to run before A-frame, we just decided to implement the ability to block certain URLs from being able to load at all. And the A-frame JavaScript file is one of those files that we've now blocked, so that it doesn't actually need to try and get in there before and create a fake A-frame. And like, even the way we were doing that, it would always show errors. And you might have even noticed in the logs, Banter would be like, if you see any errors, just ignore those. Those logs are probably still there, but the errors are actually gone now because A-frame itself is a pretty long-winded way of saying now.
I think you're cutting out, Shane.
Police Academy.
No, I'm right. Between PC.
Audio
sorry, hang on one.
issues.
Yeah, you're having some
Can you guys still hear me?
issues there, my
He's having
friend.
trouble.
Yep, you're good now.
On and off.
Yeah, you
Off
were
and
just
on.
breaking up
Yeah,
a
we can,
lot.
yeah.
Am I cutting in and out?
You were.
Yeah,
Yes.
for the last around
definitely.
15
A little
seconds.
bit, once in a while.
Okay. Okay, not to worry. It was all tech bollocks anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Long story short, for those of you that care, BS isn't always going to be available as soon as your application loads. And there's a new event that gets fired on the window object. It's simply BS high very soon. But you can basically hook into that as an event now before you start to initialize other things. So for you, FireRat, that might be important. For you, Arkin, that also might be important. If everything is working fine, then you're probably fine, right? But if you do notice a problem, like it says BS is undefined, you'll need to wrap it in that in order to get things initialized, right? And to make sure that BS is actually defined at the right time. So it's a little bit, honestly, a tiny little bit extra boilerplate, but under the hood, it removes a lot of crazy, hacky complexity that generally means things will work better, and hopefully websites will be able to load better as well. So that's something I just wanted to make you aware of. That was something that's only in this new Quest version now, but it's going to be in the PC version early next week as well, once we can get that one fully tested to make sure everything is good. We just prioritized the Quest one because that's where we were seeing crashing from Grenade Head. Thanks for all the logs, and you as well, Kalima. Thank you for all of those. Super helpful. Helped us track down the problem. It was a tricky one, as they always are. But yeah, we managed to get it resolved, and Quest was really the only one that was badly affected by that. So yeah, that's hopefully going to get fixed next week across the board. And yeah, for anybody else, keep an eye out. The docs will be updated soon, which will detail exactly how to listen for that event on the window. Or in the meantime, ping me in the Space Makers channel, and I'll be happy to drop in a code snippet that shows you how to do it. Yeah, okay. I've only got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to just show you guys something really quickly that I wanted to show you. Honestly, I was hoping that this week I might have actually been able to run an official event. I'm going to jump into the audience, because if everything goes right,
join us.
Somebody's going to spawn on stage.
One of us. One of
Mhm.
us. One of us. One of us.
We summoned thee.
One of us. One of us.
Why happens
Abracadabra.
Yeah, where's Katula?
Honestly, we just slapped this space together as quickly as we could.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, maybe it's not going to work. Honestly, I could be pushing my personal hotspot a bit too much here. Let me just try a quick toggle of the Wi-Fi.
Does anybody have 5 minutes of stand-up material they could?
You're the improv king.
How about this heat? Wait, it's winter.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
Okay, I have a great joke. Oh wait, I've told that one before. Never mind.
Okay. Come on, baby.
Come on, baby.
Okay, I'm glad I did this at the end, because if it's not going to work, then I'm not going to be standing here looking like a fool for the remainder of the event.
Yeah, Meta should leave these things to the end of the events as well when they don't work.
Yes.
Was that cardboard box that was here earlier? Was that Aline?